course, there are always people who will jump on a protest to make trouble. However, when you talk to... and a lot of people who get in touch here and people that you just talk to down the pub are not racist, they're not far-right, they're not any... They're just concerned citizens.
Yeah.
Now, what concerns me is when Sophie's talking to these counter-protesters, they're saying, well, you know, we're here to stand up against the, you know, these far-right racists.
Well, that's
so the narrative is so problematic.
It's incredibly... It is problematic, but if you turn up and you have a problem with a migrant hotel in your local area, we saw what happened up in Epping. This wasn't just... It didn't just come out of misinformation. The police were very upfront about the fact that they'd arrested an individual. Of course, there are criminal proceedings taking place at the moment, so there's very little more that we can say about it. But those protests in Epping came about as after some quite serious allegations were made against, and the police are dealing with it, against a resident of one of the migrant hotels. People have a right to be concerned. They have a right to make their voice heard, but they have to do so peacefully, and they have to do so within the confines of the law. What we can't have is a situation where we have, you know, riot police having to step in with metal objects being thrown and people being, you know, people's lives being put in danger. And I'd have thought the easiest way for those who are against these protests outside the migrant hotels would be to make this happen, would be to stay away and say, well, they can make their point for them. And if the protests pass off peacefully, then they're perfectly legitimate and OK.
Yeah, and one of our viewers, John, has already been in touch. You've been reading his...
Yes,
email.
talking about his 3 daughters.
Yeah, he said, morning, Stephen and last night my 3 daughters went down to a hotel demonstration in Leicester. Now, for my 3 girls to take part in the first demonstration of their lives shows you the anger and feelings going through the country. The British people want all migration stopped into this country. We are suffering ourselves with the cost of living, and women are scared to even take their dogs for a walk because of what might happen to them. Girls are being approached outside schools, being asked their phone numbers, etc. This is not right.
I mean, what I thought it was interesting, Martin, was Theo was
Martin for the day.
No, it was on Martin's show yesterday,
Yeah.
Martin Daubney's show yesterday, when he was out and about, but talking to someone who is a lifelong Labour voter, saying we're fed up with this now.
Yeah,
we are just fed up.
People are you know, are sick to the back teeth of what's happening, and the government has decided that it wants to operate within the confines of the European Convention on Human Rights. It hasn't got, you know, it's done away with the Rwanda plan. That is Keir Starmer's, you know, that's Keir Starmer's prerogative as Prime Minister to do that, and the government has its reasons for doing so. But there is no sign of it at the moment, the problem abating. You know, we're seeing record numbers of people crossing the English Channel. Criminal gangs are continuing to profit. And, of course, there's Emmanuel Macron, the French president, said the pull factors to this country still exist. I noticed that the Home Office have put out a press release saying that, you know, there's been a national crackdown on illegal working and several hundred people have been arrested. But the problem is the system's broken, and that once those people have been arrested and been processed, they're simply bailed back to go back to their hotels. And if you're talking about taking away their weekly stipend, I think it's about 50 quid a week, then that's only going to, you would think, given that they're stuck in a hotel, that's probably only just going to encourage illegal working because they want to get their money from somewhere else. And that's the you know, difficulty that everybody is, you know, the government is facing. The system just doesn't work.